Hey, and welcome back to Game Talk. I'm your host, Amin Beyond. Today I'm joined by Connor
Hey guys.
and Mike.
Hello.
And the first bit of news I want to get to today is a reversal of the decision of Sony to close the PlayStation stores for the PS3 and the PlayStation Vita. And I wanted to bring this up because this is kind of like a shocking move to me. Like, I really never in my wildest dreams could have anticipated Sony doing this. But they straight up admitted that they were wrong in that decision they made, and after lots of pretty extreme backlash from the fans, they decided to reverse it and will keep the stores open for the PlayStation Vita and PlayStation 3 for the foreseeable future. Now they're still closing down the PSP store, but
That's a platform that's so old now that it really doesn't
I feel
matter.
like that's acceptable.
No one uses a PSP that hasn't hacked their PSP anymore.
Yeah.
I feel like, and so they're not.
And the dedicated, the people who are really about PSP definitely like mostly moved to Vita, I think. So
Yeah, all PSP games are playable on Vita, I believe.
Right.
Digitally at least, because you can't fit those weird hybrid disc things into a Vita.
Oh, the UMDs.
UMD.
UMDs, yeah. Wow.
Dude, the
what a
UMD
throwback.
was actually really interesting at the time. Like,
It really was.
because I know, Nintendo took a whack at doing the whole like movies on the go thing with the horrible GBA video stuff. But the UMDs, my understanding is that they actually worked, albeit low resolution. But the PSP screen wasn't very good.
No, they were, I don't know, they were a cool like hardware format.
Yeah.
I remember the PSP having some good graphics though for being a handheld.
Oh yeah, I mean the
Oh,
PSP
yeah.
did really well. I think. Like I
No,
think
yeah,
it's
the PSP
I think it
was-
was a commercial success.
PSP
Yeah.
was significantly more popular than the PlayStation Vita.
Well, that's
Right.
not-
Like everything was significantly more popular than the PlayStation
Like-
Vita. But
Like graphically going from like a DS to a PSP was like it's almost like when the PSP was a lot more powerful, it looked like.
Yeah, and I've gone back and tried to play, playing them on the Vita, of course, some of the PSP Monster Hunters, and like, I don't know,
yeah,
man.
Monster Hunter was pretty huge on PSP, if I remember.
Yeah, and it looks about as good as the 3DS games did. So like,
Yeah.
you know,
But yeah, like I just want to bring up the fact that like we kicked up a pretty big fuss about this a couple episodes ago when
Yeah, I can't
the
believe,
news broke.
it's so weird. I didn't know Jim Ryan was a listener.
Yeah, Jim
I
Ryan
feel-
definitely heard our podcast.
Yeah, I
and
mean, we
reversed-
really roasted him. So
Yeah.
I'm not gonna apologize. I meant every word I said.
No, but like it's interesting to think like the article announcing this reversal, the author of that article was Jim Ryan. Now, granted, he probably got someone to write it for him, but like I think this was definitely a conscientious move on his part because I think he knows, right? Like in terms of like the hardcore audience, he knows he isn't really giving off the best vibes. So I think this maybe was a move to sort of rectify that. But yeah, just the fact that they reversed this decision, which is not something you really see often, especially with AAA first party companies. It's a big deal, I think. And I kind of wanted to just bring that up and just in a larger context talk about times where there were other reversals like this in response to like fan feedback.
I mean, the Xbox One comes to mind.
Yeah, the Xbox
Yeah.
One is the biggest example, right? Like we always talk about that infamous E3 conference where
Yeah, I mean,
You
just
know, like
anything Don
the-
Matrick ever said.
yeah, completely reversed on that guy, like as a person. But like, yeah, like that conference, Xbox announced the Xbox One, and it was all. I think, have you guys seen that supercut of like TV, movies, sports?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like how those three words were mentioned, like
Or
dozens
we
of
have a
times more.
console for people that don't have an internet connection. It's called
Than
the
video
Xbox 360.
Right.
I think that's
That
that's the most damning thing.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure like some dude in the military asked that question, like, "Hey,
Yes.
I
Yep.
serve in like the army or something, like, and I don't have an internet connection all the time. What can I do if I want to play an Xbox One?" And he was just told to buy a 360.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yikes.
that was such a bad
Although
take.
that was a hot take then. Like that was a really bad take. But that would be a way less terrible take now with like all Series X games coming to the Xbox One X and stuff. I mean, I think it's still a
Yeah,
terrible
no, no.
take,
Okay, yeah.
but
I was wondering where you were going with that, but like I'm glad you went that direction. Yeah, no, Xbox's new philosophy of like play Xbox games anywhere for better or worse, the elimination of Xbox generations means that yeah, like you should be able to play next gen games on your old console. But that still doesn't eliminate the internet issue, right? Like what if you want to play like multiplayer games or something like that? But
oh yeah, but
but yeah, no, like it's interesting. Like in some ways, I think like the reversal of like the always online Xbox One, like with integrated Connect, like the full reversal of that is something that only like it happened pretty quickly, but like it's been solidified over the past few years. Like the reversal's been ongoing from that moment for the better part of a decade, I think. To the point where now Xbox is very much, favorable in the public consciousness.
Yeah, PlayStation's suffering a little bit, especially with the bug that they recently found out that if the CMOS battery dies and you don't have an internet connection, your PS4 / PS5 is effectively
Right, yeah.
bricked.
Yeah,
yeah, that's
I
pretty
don't know
bad.
about yeah, like I feel like that's not going to be too much of an issue, but could be wrong about that. Like I don't think it's going to affect that many people.
Yeah, right now. As the
Yeah.
console ages, it's going to get more and more prevalent, especially if they shut down their online servers.
But yeah, like yeah, so just going back to that, like PS Vita store is here to stay, PlayStation 3 store is here to stay. And I just kind of want to pose the question, like, what do you guys think caused this reversal? Because I've seen more like skeptical and like cynics online say that like Sony reversed it because like they saw the influx of people like buying things on the PS3 and Vita store when the announcement was made and saw how much money there is to be made there. And I'm sorry, but I just don't believe that. Like, I don't
No,
believe there are that many people flocking to the PlayStation 3 store to buy these old games.
no, I
I
really don't think
think
that's the
I think
case.
it's more the case of enough fan outcry was done for historical or archival purposes that and they just decided we're
Yeah,
gonna
Yeah,
cut our losses.
I think Em had hit the nail on the head in the episode where we talked about this. You were saying that they were thinking very short term and not
right.
thinking about the publicity. And I really think the publicity is the part of this that matters to them
Exactly.
because
Yeah.
I I mean I do believe that a bunch of people probably went and bought stuff on those stores and maybe even enough that like it became clear to them that they wouldn't lose money so much by keeping them up. But
Right.
certainly they're not doing this in a profit mind.
Right. No, I think the way the cost of like, okay, if we shut this down, again, it's not really going to affect our business. Like we're still going to be making money hand over fist with, PS4, PS5, PSN, but it's going to generate all this negative energy for our brand. Like whether
Yeah.
it's justified or not, it was there, right? Like, and I again, like I really do think the mainstream, PlayStation fan really couldn't care less. But like the dedicated hardcore made enough of a stink that like, people heard about this. People who, not
Yeah, and there's
wouldn't
also
necessarily hear
like
about this, like more casual PlayStation fans did hear about this, and and that was starting to negatively color their perception of PlayStation.
you also have to look like this console generation in all reality has not started yet for most people. Like these
Yeah,
consoles are
very
not
true.
available to anyone.
Yeah.
And so this gives this gives Sony and Microsoft both like probably a full year where the only input they have on a console generation is their PR. And people, I mean, I didn't read a ton of these articles or anything, but if I was writing one, my case would be Xbox cares about game preservation, Sony doesn't. And
Yeah, no, I think that's a very astute point. Like early in the generation, like the messaging matters so much, as we know,
it's
from
yeah,
the previous
and
generation.
we're gonna be early in the PS5 at Series X generation for the foreseeable future because
Yeah.
no one can get these consoles. Like I don't know if you guys are keeping an eye on. You're probably not,
Yeah.
Am, because you
No,
have
no,
one. But like,
I'm following this just because I find it fascinating. Like supply is, or no, sorry, demand is outstripping supply for both Xbox and PlayStation consoles like
yeah,
heavily.
like the only
So
place I've seen to get a PS5 is on Newegg. They do these shuffles, and the only option available is an $800 bundle for a
yeah, that's
PS5.
ridiculous. Yeah. No,
It comes with a bunch of games and stuff, but they're not.
yeah.
I don't want to play all those games. I don't $800 want a PS5.
Yeah, no, like I
Yeah,
have
it's
just anecdotally, I have friends who very much would like a PS5 and like you know, didn't refresh Best Buy like a madman when they made the announcement like I did, so they just don't have one and they're exhausted in trying to get one and basically just give it up.
Yeah, I
And
mean, I'm
like
pretty sure you're the only person I know that has a next gen console right now.
Yeah.
no, you know, like now that I think about it, like I think I could name the number of friends I have in like on one hand, like so less than five that actually have a next gen console. Like the majority do not, and I think that
Actually,
extends to yeah.
that makes me wonder. I mean, Sony, they're probably only making money off of the hardcore fans right now.
I mean, they're making money off of PS4 right now, you know,
Right,
like
but on their PS5 output, the only people that are buying those games on launch are the hardcore fans. I don't think any casuals have been able to get these.
well, yes,
Has
the hardcore fans, casual fans are definitely trying to get this console too. Like you
Yeah, but they're
mentioned
not
last
refreshing Best Buy like a
right.
madman.
But like you mentioned last week, Connor, like it seems like PlayStation is definitely people associate PlayStation more with video games than Xbox right now, just in
Yeah.
general. And I think, like, kids asking for PS5s for Christmas, like for example, like my dad purchased a PS5 with the intention of giving it to like a cousin for their birthday. The cousin ended up not wanting it, so he sold it on eBay for some dude was willing to pay like upwards of $1,000 for it because
Yeah, I
his
was gonna say
son,
you probably made a colossal profit
yeah,
on that. Like,
because his son wanted it for his birthday. So
yeah,
yeah, so
I'm stuck in this weird place right now where like I have pre-ordered a 3080. Who knows when it's gonna get here? An
Eventually.
RTX 3080 for my PC. I am entering these shuffles on Newegg and stuff to get a 3080 sooner, which means I'm going to be in the hole like $1,400 or something, paying for this 3080 at like the absurd price Newegg is charging at this point, which is higher than MSRP when I pre-ordered it. But then eventually my old one's going to get here. Do I
yeah.
sell it? Like, do I sell it at scalper prices? Because that's what the market shows. Do I sell it at MSRP and like take a huge hit essentially?
No,
I,
if I
yeah,
were
I don't
you,
know
I
what to
would sell
do.
it and make your money back, like
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Like, I don't consider myself a scalper. I'm doing it one time because I'm trying to get I want to use my new PC
yeah.
to the spec I laid out.
No,
But
and
I'm at the
all
point
of
where I'm
these
willing to buy a 3090 at this point. Like,
wow, yeah.
but the 3090s, those bundles, they bundle where 3090s are rare too. They're bundling them with like $800 motherboards. And so you can't get a 3090 at MSRP. You're paying a total of $3,000 and probably getting a part you don't want. Like
Yeah.
I hate the Newegg bundle system that they're doing right now. It's terrible.
Yeah, and like all these scarcity issues are exacerbated by the fact that like we're having a chip shortage too. So
Yeah.
it's just going to be very difficult to get your hands on any of this hardware in the foreseeable future, which sucks.
Yeah.
But yeah, just in general, the decision to reverse the store closures, it harkens back to the most recent example I can think of is Xbox. Or rather, Microsoft announced an Xbox Live Gold price increase, which which was baffling to me because like I was under the impression that they were about to get rid of paid gold like for good and just have Game Pass be like bundle it in with Game Pass. So that move really came out of nowhere, and I think a lot of people weren't expecting it either. And there was backlash to that, of course, and Microsoft backed off pretty quickly, which leads me to think like, and maybe this is the cynic in me coming out, like, do you think these moves are manufactured to generate good PR when they're negated?
No, I don't think, because I do not feel goodwill towards Sony. Like right now, I feel
Yeah,
that they.
no, it's a net zero, right? Like they made a
Yeah.
bad decision and now they're
No,
back.
it's still a net negative. Like they were still going to do it. That was still a bad decision. The fact that
Yeah.
they listened to people yelling at them means I dislike them slightly less. Like if that is their intent, then they are sorely mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like overall, the decision was absolutely negative, but the fact that they didn't do it definitely clears things up for me personally a lot.
It clears it up a little for me, but like
But
I
yeah, like
still
I mean,
feel like they made that call. They were willing to throw. I wouldn't want to be an indie developer for PlayStation right now either, because they were throwing their
that's
Vita.
fair. Yeah.
Because like, yeah, I mean, yeah, they didn't do it, but they were going to. They didn't care that
Yeah,
they were throwing these developers under the bus. They didn't
that's a
care.
very fair point.
They
Yeah,
see
for
the numbers. You know, the numbers are not going to change on the people downloading from the Vita store and stuff. They're not gonna increase, at least. They're gonna go down. And they saw those numbers and they decided that they did not care about throwing those people under the bus. And
yeah,
the
no, that's a very
only
fair
reason they
point.
changed their mind is because people yelled at them.
Yeah, when it comes to like Vita developers specifically, like for like what, like 3-4 weeks where that news was out, they must have been in total disarray, right? Like
Yeah.
all of a sudden, like
Yeah, what do we do?
their
Like, and
project was ruined.
I
And
guarantee porting from Vita to something else is not easy. I mean, look at all the Kickstarters with Vita ports promised that never came.
yeah, I mean, developing for Vita is definitely a bespoke sort of thing, right? Like it doesn't translate into PC development very easily, I don't think.
I can't imagine it does. I
Yeah,
mean, I
so
think there's like a Unity build path for PS Vita, but like it's still not. It's not as simple as changing your export, probably, especially if you were targeting Vita exclusively.
But yeah, no, I think that's a very fair point, Connor, and I think I'm in alignment with your position, just considering from the developer's perspective, because yeah, if anyone really got screwed there, it's them. The players are fine, right? The developers are the ones hurting.
Yeah,
So
I
that
mean, if I cared about
yeah,
my Vita, I'd have been upset, but I
yeah.
don't. So
Dude, I was like this close to like buying a bunch of Vita games. I'm so glad I didn't. Like I really was about to do it. Because like, there are certain games that I won't ever be able to play again if they or won't be able to buy if they take that store offline.
yeah,
So
yeah,
at
and
least for now, I'm glad that it's not going anywhere.
I think the only saving grace is that I doubt the Vita Online store ever did well because they tried to charge you like $1 million for a memory card that was just an
Yeah, the
SD card,
memory
a
card.
mediocre
So
SD card.
you know what's really interesting? I went down the rabbit hole of looking for a memory card. Because like I was in Vita prep mode, right? Like I wanted that my Vita to last as long as possible. And I was looking at prices on eBay and they're just absurd for these memory cards. Like the biggest one, like I think the biggest one is like 64 gigs. And in like often like the listings were over $200 for it.
Yeah,
It's just ridiculous. Like
it's definitely cheaper. There's a hack you can do to make it use just an SD card. I assume it has to be a hardware hack, but
see, the problem with me though is like I'm very hesitant hacking my Vita because I want trophy support.
why? It's gonna get taken away anyway.
No, your trophies are tied to your account,
Yeah,
so
I mean, eventually you're not gonna, eventually they're gonna take away support for that. For
well, no,
Vita.
no. Once you earn a trophy, it's there
But I'm
tied to your
pretty sure
account
you can
forever.
still earn trophies on a hacked Vita. The Vita hack is very my Vita is hacked. I don't use it for piracy. I play some indie games on it. I emulate on it.
Yeah,
Just to be clear, I'm not one to condone piracy, but I've never had any issues. I can still access the PlayStation Store and everything on my hacked Vita
interesting. Okay,
because
yeah.
it's not always in quote unquote hacked mode. You have to like do something
So,
when you turn it on.
okay, so I guess my question is, does the hack involve like setting it to a certain firmware patch?
Well, I think you had to be on a certain. I can still do online multiplayer too, by the way. You can
Okay, so
still
then
do.
probably not then. That's
Yeah,
pretty
I think the hack is
interesting.
easiest to do if you're already on a certain firmware. And for whatever firmware I was on, the hack was literally there was like an exploit in the web browser, and you literally open up a website and your Vita's hacked. Like it was that simple.
That's so funny.
Yeah, and I don't know if that still works. That was years ago, but yeah, I still played online games. The store still opens and everything. I think I'm spoofing my firmware right now. I don't think I'm actually on the latest firmware. I set my Vita to lie about what firmware version it's on
Yeah,
because I was afraid to update it.
yeah, I
But
mean like yeah, it's just
that's a long-term fix at this point. Like normally I would not like that, but what are the odds of a significant firmware update coming out for the PS Vita? Like
it's funny, like over the past couple years, you'd get your odd like stability patches for the PS Vita, like even though like presumably very few people were playing it, but like I think at this point it's safe to assume you're not going to be getting one ever again.
exactly. Like
Yeah.
it's just yeah. So
But yeah.
I mean, yeah, by the time I hacked my Vita, the the Vita was over. You know, I don't like to hack stuff during. Like I see all kinds of things that make me want to hack my Switch, but I'm not going to do that during the console's actual lifespan.
Right, yeah. No, like I don't know, like my obsession with trophies gives me pause for lots of these things. So
I mean, just look. The websites about them will tell you. But I mean, if you don't want a hacked Vita, there's no reason to get one.
yeah,
You know, the only reason in your use case, I feel like the only reason would be to be able to use an SD card.
yeah. Okay, yeah. So in general, like I think, like obviously it shouldn't have been done in the first place, but I am glad that Sony backtracked on this, and Microsoft has a history of, responding to fan feedback as well, so that's well and good. Does Nintendo, I feel like Nintendo is less responsive than Sony and Microsoft in general.
I feel like Nintendo's not responsive at all, and I think part of that is
Exactly,
a
yeah.
language barrier issue. You know, I feel like a lot
Well,
of the
that's-
outrage comes
how
from
is-
the English-speaking world, and the Japanese speaking executives of Nintendo don't care about that so much.
I mean, Nintendo has Doug Bowser. They used to have Reggie, right? Like
I know, but those people have largely, at least to me, felt like a filter, so that they listen to it and ignore it because or they listen to it and respond with soft nothings to kind of cover PR wise the fact that Nintendo does not care what its fans say to them.
Yeah, Nintendo definitely does seem like the worst of the three
Speaking
in
of
this regard.
Nintendo's weird PR and refusal to do stuff. Did you see Reggie joking about how he never announced Mother 3 on Twitter the other day?
Yeah, I saw some talk about that. Wasn't too sure what that was about.
Well, there's a long history of fans begging Nintendo to port Mother 3 to the West, and they've never done it. And Reggie was the one who dealt with the brunt of it, and he always had to kind of pass it off because he didn't want to say they would never do it. And now he doesn't work for Nintendo, and he can say whatever he wants. So he Twitch made a post saying what game is in your backlog that you've been dying to play but haven't gotten to yet, and he joked that he'd been meaning to play the English port of Mother 3.
That's funny. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a fan translation, but
yeah, you'd think that even someone like Reggie, after leaving Nintendo would be under NDA for X amount of years just to not talk about certain things. And I bet he is.
Yeah, I'm sure he's not allowed to give out information, but I think
I'm sure he knows the next projects, the major projects of the next 5 or 10 years that he'll never be able to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting. I feel like I haven't seen much of Doug Bowser. Reggie was catapulted to legendary meme status, right?
Yeah, but we haven't had an E3 since Doug Bowser stepped up. We haven't had he hasn't had as many opportunities yet because of COVID largely.
Well, it's I don't know, this E3 is shaping up to be an event for better or worse, right?
Yeah,
it seems
so maybe
it's
it'll show up.
Well, it's going to be totally
yeah,
online,
I know,
right?
but show up as in be in the videos and
Right. Yeah, so that's exciting. Yeah, E3's coming up, which, in
3 months.
Even after COVID, I don't see them ever going back to the big,
God, I hope not. If I ever have to
conference
watch
type thing.
a stupid orchestra play when I'm trying to learn about video games
That's
again,
the
I'm going to
best.
lose my
What are you
mind.
talking about?
It's so stupid and it's a waste of my time. I hate it.
Dude, you're the worst. I hate you.
Well, apparently everyone agrees with me because they're not doing it anymore.
Oh, man. No, I live for that stuff, dude.
Then go see the Zelda Orchestra.
So sad that it's gone. No, I mean, I love the hype and the anticipation and stuff, but I don't know.
I like the hype and
anything.
anticipation, but when it actually comes to the event, I want to see the games. I don't care about the stupid. I don't want to see Xbox put a car on the show floor.
I mean, that's part of the
kind
fun,
of stuff
though.
I don't like, but
You only like the orchestra thing because it was about The Last of Us. Admit it.
It wasn't. It was about God of War.
Was it? No, there was one. They had one when they announced The Last of Us 2, where they had a big tent set up and they had a.
Oh yeah, that was a little stupid. Yeah, no,
that's what I'm talking about.
The last.
No, they had the orchestra play along with the trailer, right? For God of War or something.
Right, they live scored.
That
They
was
live
cool.
scored the. That's what I
the-
was thinking of. Yeah.
Wasn't it the same one, the same E3 where they cut away from that to the single guy playing a flute for Ghost of Tsushima?
Yeah, that whole E3.
And then
not feeling.
and then they brought the composer to play a song of Last of Us 2 to play the guitar.
Yeah, Gustavo
was so-
Santaolalla.
That
Yeah,
was
that
a
was
really weird E3
yeah,
presentation.
it was a strange E3 because like no new information was divulged, right? Like it was just like I don't know, like people were expecting announcements and we didn't get those, and
Yeah,
so
isn't
it
that
just came
that was?
across as annoying.
I'm pretty sure Monster Hunter World got announced at that one, didn't it?
Maybe.
Maybe, yeah,
I
I
think so.
don't
I
remember.
remember I was more excited than you at the end of it because
You
Monster Hunter
got
World had
Yeah,
been announced.
no,
like
but
God
like,
of War, you got this huge like show and then flute.
dude, I will never forget that E3 conference where they announced God of War for as long as I live. That has been burned into my mind.
I
That
Like,
was
barely
the
remember
orchestra,
it.
right?
yeah, that was the live orchestra. Like that E3 and the E3 the year before that were the two most legendary E3 conferences in my opinion. So I don't know,
No,
but
the 2007 E3 in Nintendo E3 is unforgettable with Wii Music,
oh god, I was gonna say like what is that, but now I know exactly what you're talking about.
and there's also the one where Skyward Sword didn't work on stage with Miyamoto. That was iconic.
Yeah, no, like, yeah, I don't know. Like we've talked about this before, but like I also enjoy the cringe factor that comes with E3, but I can
Yeah.
understand how that's
I don't.
people don't want
I
that.
will be happy to see that go away.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of the end of an era really for on-stage cringe.
I think Nintendo Direct is the patrician way to distribute information about
I mean,
games.
yeah, Nintendo's leading the way on that, right? Like Sony's basically does directs now too. I don't think I think Microsoft's the only one that really still doesn't, but I'm sure that's
Microsoft
going to
just drops
change.
stuff on Twitter, and I like that a lot too. Like the constant, like I actually, of my own volition, follow Xbox Game Pass PC on Twitter because it announces games all the time that I'm like, oh, I have to play that. Like, and I just wouldn't know about them otherwise.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm just an old man. Like I don't check Twitter. Like that's not something I do. But I do pay attention to these conferences when they're announced. So
Yeah, I feel like storefronts are just going to be the future of game announcements, really. Like, you know how many games I've learned about through just the front page of Steam?
I used to. That was a long
Now,
time ago, though.
see, but
now
that's so.
they
But
used to be good games though. Now they're
Yeah,
just
like
now
yeah.
it's just
Now the front
hentai.
page of Steam is garbage, and that's true of every Like you look at the front page of like the Nintendo store right now. Like there's Mario, and then there's garbage. Like
There's just so many games on Steam
yeah,
now that
it's the indie apocalypse or whatever.
you have
right,
so
like
much trash to sort through.
exactly, like for every gem, there's like 10
Yeah.
pieces of garbage.
I honestly kind of, I mean, I think it was probably just a logistics problem, but the storefronts opening up and like dropping all quality control is such a bad thing. Like,
Yeah, that was an interesting decision. I don't
because
know,
at
man.
some
Like,
point, like I remember growing up and thinking that it would be like the coolest thing in the world to get a game on Steam. You know how I got Perspectrum on Steam? I paid
Paid
$100 and they checked to see if the game ran. That's it. And I
yeah,
didn't
like
even pay the
I definitely
$100.
feel
That was my
like
publisher. But, like,
it's a tough situation, right? Because like at some level, it definitely I think devalues your platform if it's full of like shovelware and stuff that's buggy and like you know definitely like hasn't been checked for quality like
I
clearly.
yeah,
But
I
like
don't.
on the other hand, like it lowers the barrier to entry so much for you know developers that I feel like
I mean,
and at the end of the day, does it really hurt the consumer that much? Like they're not. It's
it hurts the developers a lot. Like the fact like I can make a game of very high quality, and 10 years ago, that game getting on Steam would have been like it would be on the
a
front page
big
of
deal.
Steam. People
Yeah.
would see this game got on Steam, and that would help me tremendously. Now, getting my game on Steam means nothing. Like nobody saw it. Nobody like, anytime people saw it, it was because of marketing we did externally.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
think itch.io probably did more for us for discoverability than Steam did, and itch.io, I just talked to the guys, they threw me a bone.
It's like Steam now is just a cesspool of shovelware and very poorly made erotic visual novels.
Yeah, and I think Steam especially has no excuse for that because like the consoles and stuff, there's no other way to get your game on that platform other than their storefront. But there are other places that these like Like Steam could have let itself be the elite place to sell games, and they chose not to do that for
So,
some reason.
like, yeah, Steam was the first to open the floodgates, right? Like both like the PlayStation Store and Xbox Store were all and I think the Nintendo Store were all like curated places for the longest time, right? But after
Yeah.
Steam sort of opened the floodgates, they followed suit and now, there's
I actually
millions of
don't
games everywhere.
understand how the Nintendo floodgates got opened because I mean, you can get well, no. I don't know how the Switch floodgates got open. I haven't looked in a long time.
I think it's
I'm a registered Nintendo developer and can buy dev kits for the Wii U and 3DS if I want to, but I don't believe I have access to the Switch.
I think what happened was with the Wii U and the Nindies program, they kind of made it a lot easier to be a third-party developer.
Right,
Because
like
for a long
Nintendo-
time,
Yeah.
For a long time,
suffered
Nintendo it was hard to be a
third
big
parties.
third party with Nintendo.
Right, and like, especially with the Switch, like the Switch and indies like are a match made in heaven, and that's for good and bad, right? Like we've gotten amazing indies on Switch, but we've also gotten like we said the flood pool of garbage.
There have also been some
comes
really
through.
unfortunately compromised ports on Switch. Like I was playing Gungeon on Switch for a while and didn't realize how bad of a version that was until I played it on my PC and switched over.
Switched over. I see what you did there.
Yeah, that was totally intentional.
Yeah, I don't know, but I feel like now that we're here, there's no going back, right? Like there's no unopening Pandora's box. Like
Certainly not. No.
there's no imposing new restrictions on what can or can't be published to your storefront. So
Well, I think there's a space on the I mean, yeah, I think there's room on the PC platform at least to open a store that doesn't sell garbage. If that was your platform,
so how's the Epic Game Store? Like I'm genuinely asking this because I have like no
I
experience.
don't know.
with it.
I have never looked at the store page on the Epic Game Store in my life.
Because the thought just occurred to me, like maybe the Epic Game Store could be that, where
The
Steam
Epic Game
can't
Store
even-
could absolutely be that, but they have not branded themselves. I mean, I think they are that. I think it is harder to get on Epic Games than it is to get on Steam. I can't tell you if they are that though, because the only reason I open Epic Games is to get exclusives and to get the free games they give me.
Right, yeah. No, they're
And that's
desperately
on me.
trying to usurp Steam, but I don't think it's working.
If
be honest.
they're trying to brand themselves as that, they're doing a bad job because that is not what I think of them as. I think of them as the guys that give me free games and buy exclusives. And
Yeah, isn't Epic losing like millions of dollars on their
it's like
store?
$300 million a year they're losing, yeah.
God,
But they
that's
can
a lot of
afford it.
money.
No, they're fine. They have Fortnite. It's
Fortnite prints money, dude.
it's a
It's
drop in the
just-
ocean.
Dude, you know what's crazy? Like I think the metrics, like I think Apex Legends now has like 50 million active players, which is insane, right?
Yeah,
guess how many
Apex
Fortnite
has blown up lately. I'm having a ton of fun with it.
Guess how many active users Fortnite has?
I don't know, 100
Millions.
300 million.
God.
Like,
Yeah.
what even
The
is Fortnite at
like
this point?
nearly the entire population of the United States plays Fortnite. Like just
Like,
think about that, Like
what
that's
even is Fortnite? Like, at one point it was a battle royale, but now it's just like you want
it's
to put your
still-
licensed characters in here.
Yeah, it's like a social. There's a good video. I think it's by Errant Signal, but it's about the duality of Fortnite and how there's like this. There's two games there. There's this battle royale, and then like copied on top of that, and potentially the more important aspect is this social world
Yeah.
that people live in going on, kind of.
Yeah, it's really interesting what this the Fortnite experience turned into. Like I never
I mean,
would have
like,
really predicted
yeah,
it.
Why am I going to a concert in my battle royale? I mean, I'm
Like,
not, but
I'm
people
not,
are.
but like yeah, dude, and especially like the younger crowd is like they're all about it. Like
To think this all started with Thanos.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
that was
yeah,
the
like no,
turning
it's
point.
it's
It
it's
started
wild to me.
with
Like
Thanos, but
dude, everyone will bend over backwards to get into Fortnite. Like we've got Sony exclusive characters like Kratos showing up in Fortnite. We've got like, obviously all the Marvel stuff happening. Like and
the Master Chief,
yeah,
the Xenomorph,
Xbox, like
the,
Xbox
Ripley.
putting their the only thing holdout right is Nintendo, and I don't know, like if anything can get Nintendo to like sort of break their sort of code, I think it's Fortnite.
I mean, what
Yeah.
character would Nintendo even put in Fortnite?
Mario and Fortnite.
That would be
Mario
terrible.
Fortnite.
No, Nintendo would never let Mario hold a gun.
Donkey Kong.
Oh wait, no,
Fortnite.
that's already not true. I forgot Rabbids happened.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
about to say Rabbids, right?
God, I would
No,
rather.
I mean, like I could see maybe like a Splatoon and Fortnite, you know?
Yeah, Splatoon or Samus, I could see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna happen.
But like
Fortnite's like a pop culture
Nintendo still
zeitgeist.
hasn't, folded, right? Like Nintendo still hasn't gotten their stuff in Fortnite yet, as far as I know, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Like they're the only thing, like the only corporation on the planet.
I think Jonesy will be in Smash before Samus is in Fortnite.
Like,
But what if it's
Uh,
at the same time?
Yeah, Nintendo announces like their crossover with Fortnite. We get a Fortnite character in Smash and Nintendo characters in Fortnite. That could be interesting. Like
I
I
mean,
feel
it'd be
like
Jonesy. Jonesy is the Fortnite mascot.
I'm not over the fact that Fortnite has become this cultural zeitgeist of
I tried to play Fortnite the other day and
whatever.
got really frustrated with it.
better
I
believe
fired it up and I was like, yeah, I'll play around, and it immediately dropped me into this like single player story
Yeah,
based
dude.
experience, and I was like, this sucks. And then it crashed, and I decided I
Mhm.
didn't want to play it that
Yeah,
bad.
like I remember back like I was into Fortnite when it first came out, right? I think everyone was. Everyone was playing it for a while. And then I
Yeah.
didn't touch it for
I was actually pretty
years.
late to the party, but
Right?
yeah.
Like I didn't touch it until like a few months ago where I like decided, hey, like let me just check out what's going on. And I had to jump through so many hoops to get into an online game. Like I
Yeah, I think
don't
that's a really
understand.
weird call, like increasing the friction to get into an
Yeah.
online game.
Like I
But
guess,
kids might love that.
like I don't know if I'm triggering anyone by saying this, but like I guess the babies playing Fortnite are content just playing against bots and thinking they're
Yeah,
doing really well.
no, they
Like
Oh, are you playing against bots? I didn't even get that far. I like
no,
was
I was playing against bots for the first few matches and I was like, how is this possible? There's no way like I'm this good at Fortnite. And it turns out no, like it was bots, but it was
so
like
what console was this
it
on?
was definitely advertised as multiplayer. This I think I was on PS5. Yeah,
Okay, I was gonna
PS5.
say I knew Switch and mobile both put you against bots. I didn't know that it on PS5.
Oh, it does it on PC too.
That's insane.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so I
they
think you definitely have to like jump through hoops to play multiplayer now, which I don't understand. But
I mean, I feel like the average person is not gonna notice it's bots.
I don't know, man. I,
It, like
I mean,
I don't know.
maybe that's why it's I don't know, like
The
maybe that's
average
why
person
like
isn't
the
going to notice
competitive.
it. One of two things is going to happen. They're either not going to notice it's bots, or they're going to queue up with their friends, and it's not going to be bots.
Dude, I queued up with my friends and it was bots.
Well,
Like
were
I
your
had
friends like high level players or
oh
anything?
no, like they just installed the game.
Yeah. So like, if you're queuing up with like people who've played before, you're gonna not get bots probably.
maybe. I remember when they first added it, like even big streamers were getting bot games.
Yeah, I don't know why they would add that. I don't know what.
Just to make people feel good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like it must be to like appeal to like
The little
know,
Timmies.
the 4-year-old who wants a PS5 to play Fortnite. Like
Yeah.
that definitely exists, right?
Yeah.
That
Oh
is a
yeah, for
crowd.
sure. I
Yeah.
mean,
I just couldn't get past the building element. Like that was the big
oh yeah. I mean,
stopping
Honestly,
point
no.
of
Like
enjoying it.
okay. So if we're doing this, talking about Fortnite, like I actually thought the building was pretty cool. Like I thought there was enough like mechanical depth to it to be like rewarding to learn. But like
I-
the problem is like people got so sweaty so quickly with that. Like it just became unfun to play.
Yeah,
I
it just
never
had
really
this
liked it.
frictional
I think the
difference.
gunplay in Fortnite is pretty good. At the very least, passable. Probably a little better than that. And I like the art style a lot. I think that Fortnite is a very good looking game. And so like as a zone out game to like just kind of play in the play while you're like just relaxing, I thought it was really cool. But I do not like the building. I just want to play a simple shooter. I don't
Yeah,
like.
and I guess like back in the day where it was like you either play Fortnite or PUBG if you want to play Battle Royale, like Fortnite was a lot more appealing, but now there's so many options out there.
Now
Like
you
there's
have
Yeah,
if
I'm an
you want
Apex guy.
yeah, if you want stellar gunplay and great movement, just play Apex. Like
Yeah. Oh my God,
if you
Apex.
want
The
a
movement gets
more
insane.
serious kind of shooter, play Warzone. Actually, Warzone's not that serious, but if you
Yeah, I
want
was
to
gonna
get a
say
little
if you want to
sweaty,
play Call of
Yeah.
Duty, you play Warzone.
yeah, you play
Yeah.
Warzone.
If you want to play
yeah,
Call of Duty with 99 other people, you play Warzone.
no,
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun playing Warzone. Like Warzone
Oh, I'm
was
not
really
dunking
good.
on Warzone. I'm just
Yeah.
saying it's Call of Duty with more
It's
people.
it's
Yeah.
what you want.
And
If
Yeah.
you want like high skill, you play like Hyperscape or something.
Really?
I tried
Apparently,
Hyperscape out and I was just very bad at it. But
yeah. Apparently, it has like a super high skill ceiling,
I never tried it.
but
I
the
love
learning curve
Apex
is
though.
insane. Yeah, Apex is probably one of the better battle royales we have right now.
Yeah.
I would argue it's probably the best, right? Like I don't
I
like
think that's a hard argument to make because like it's a battle royale hero shooter, you know?
Yeah,
At
it
some point,
combines like the best elements of both.
right.
yeah, at
I
some
guess
point
it's
the
not
flavor is different enough.
purely. Yeah,
Like
I guess you're
Apple.
arguing it's not purely a battle royale, right?
Well, no, I'm arguing that it has enough differences to Fortnite that I would struggle to compare the two. I think
But
apples to oranges is a fair argument here because like they're both battle royales, but like they taste
I
different when
think
you play them.
I
Mm.
think one of the main things I had about Fortnite was the weapons compared to Apex. The weapons of Fortnite, they just feel bad.
Yeah.
Like they don't sound good. You fire a gun in
Not everybody
Apex,
can
and you
be
feel good.
Respawn, you know? Nobody makes better gunplay than Respawn.
Like it's even down to sound. Like when you
And plus
fire
the
like
fact
an
that
assault rifle
I
in
don't know,
Fortnite, it's boring.
Fortnite is a third-person shooter, which I feel like most first-person shooters are definitely more fun to play than third-person shooters. in
See,
game.
I actually I think that's another thing that just separates Fortnite so much in my mind is that third person is inherently more casual than first person. A first person controller is far more confusing to a new gamer.
Yeah,
And also like we're all used to it. We've been playing FPSs for like forever, I'm sure, but
For
like
years.
new people like first person cameras make people motion sick. It doesn't get talked about a whole lot, but they totally
no,
do.
no, you're absolutely right. I've introduced video games to people before who don't play them, and the first-person perspective really sort of melts their brain. Like, and I
Yeah.
don't blame them. Like it's a very it's something we take for granted that takes a lot of adapting to.
Yeah. Where's my guy is the phrase you'll hear.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And yeah. I mean, I remember trying to learn how to play Metroid Prime as a kid. I was like, this makes no sense.
I
Yeah, I
feel
think they,
like
yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to talk about sound for a little bit. Like Fortnite's guns just sounded
They do sound terrible. They
Kinda
sound
terrible.
like toys. Yeah.
like you shoot a gun in Apex and you just have
Right.
this massive piece of death in your hands, and it sounds
Well,
like it.
So the counter argument here is that like look at Fortnite's art style, right? Like it's definitely trying to appeal to a younger crowd too, right? So I guess the weapons don't have the same oomph for that reason.
I mean, look at Borderlands art style as well. Counter argument.
Yeah, but Borderlands is pretty graphic, right? Like it can get violent and stuff. There's
Yeah.
no blood or anything like that in Fortnite.
The art style does not excuse bad sounds, though. Honestly,
Yeah, I mean, I see your point. I guess the argument I was making was that like maybe they shied away from realistic sounding guns because it was like kiddie, but
like it doesn't even have to sound realistic, but you need more oomph. Like I remember there's a story about Wolfenstein where the MP5 and the Thompson were the same gun stats wise, but people thought the MP5 was better because it sounded louder.
mhm.
Like that's it. That's the whole story.
No,
Just
I
because
mean,
one gun sounded better.
I definitely agree that like the way the weapons sound, like especially like not even just shooting, but like the way they reload and stuff is so important in like a first person shooter, especially.
Yeah.
But games that do it really well in third person shooters, like, The Last of Us Part Two's third person gameplay is like second to none in my opinion. And like part of that is due to the outstanding sound design in that game.
I also want to go back to like Gears of War. Every gun in
Gears of
Gears of
War
War
as well.
sounds
Yeah.
really good, and same studio. Like how'd they go
Wait,
from?
who did Gears of War again?
I believe the first two were Epic, right?
I don't think so.
Ready at Dawn, right? Was it? No,
No.
Ready at Dawn's doing Gears now. Yeah.
Yeah, it was Epic.
Really? I didn't
Yeah,
know
it
that.
was Epic.
Yeah, it was created by Epic Games. So Gears of War 3 was the last one by Epic, I believe.
Yeah,
Wow,
Gears of
thinking
War
of
was
Epic
like
as
their
making exclusive.
So yeah, they went from Epic Games to Fortnite. What happened to their sound team?
I mean, okay, I get what you're saying, but there's something to be said for unrealistic guns, I think, and like toy gun sounds and stuff. Like it's
Yeah.
less upsetting to parents, I feel like, that these guns don't feel real at all.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the argument I was making, right? Like I think they were less concerned with making realistic gun sounds because they knew they were targeting like a younger crowd.
Yeah, like Fortnite. Fortnite very clearly doesn't want you to think about the fact that you're shooting people. That's not what the
Yeah.
game's. Like Fortnite does not want to be a violent game, which it obviously is, but it doesn't want to be that. Like it wants to be this cartoony good time you're having with
Yeah,
your
it's
friends.
it's like it's a T-rated shooter, right?
And if I feel like I'm shooting like a very real shotgun at someone's face, that kind of conflicts with that design ideal.
And it's less on the teen perspective than something like Uncharted, right? Uncharted is rated T for teen, and there is blood in
I
Uncharted for
it
sure, right?
is Fortnite rated T? I thought it was like E10 or something.
I don't think you can have guns in a game and have it be rated E. I don't think that's
Yeah, but you can be
possible.
E10. Shadow the Hedgehog was E10.
Okay, Shadow the Hedgehog.
Famously, Shadow the Hedgehog was going to be grittier and like maybe either more or less stupid. There's no telling. But then they backpedaled because the E10 rating was created while Shadow the Hedgehog was in
It was
development.
made for that.
Okay, so
game.
I
Yeah.
just looked it up. Fortnite is rated T, 13 plus. So yeah, I think
That's
it's
weird.
very
When I think
I
of a
can't,
Fortnite
aside
player, I
from
do.
Shadow the Hedgehog, which is just a terrible example of everything.
No,
I can't think of
Shadow the
Hedgehog's a
Hedgehog is the
great
iconic E10 game. It is the
Oh,
definitive
gosh.
E10
It
game.
really is. It's like that's the max for an E10 game to get away
That is
with.
the most E10 a game can
So
possibly
okay,
be.
no, do you think if it came out today, it would still be E10?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, no, it follows the spec to a T. Like
It's it has minimal
Aside from
cursing.
Shadow the Hedgehog, I can't think of another game in which you wield a gun and it's not rated T or above.
I think I'm racking my brain here. They definitely exist because I played them as a kid because I wasn't allowed to play rated T games until I was 13.
Yeah, I mean, like,
because
yeah,
I had
I was
parents
the same.
to look at my media. They didn't want to
No,
bother
yeah,
me.
just personal story. Like, all my friends were playing like Halo and Call of Duty, and I was sitting here begging my parents to let me play with them. But
Oh my God, same. That was a
yeah,
nightmare. Like going to birthday parties when you're 13 and like your friend just got a new Xbox 360 and they're playing Halo 3 and you're not
yeah.
allowed to play it, so you just sit there and watch.
And I get it. Like I do get it now, right? But back then, like,
So I get it. I get it, but I resent it a little bit, and I'm gonna lay it down why. I think that had my parents bothered to educate themselves about the games at all, Halo would have been an exception. I see
okay,
no
so
reason.
maybe Halo would have been an exception, but definitely not like Call of Duty for my family.
Yeah, no,
Like,
I could have seen my parents like GTA is the one that comes to mind that like my parents never would have let me play. As
oh
a kid.
yeah, yeah.
But, like-
If I have a kid, I'm not letting them play GTA when they're like 8
Nah.
years old. Like,
No, absolutely not. No, I mean, obviously we've talked about this from the perspective like how the perspective of a bunch of people who don't have kids and how we feel about how you
Right,
should parent
yeah.
your kids. We've said that, but like I very much think that like the M rating is a very broad umbrella because you
It's
can't compare
super.
GTA to Destroy All Humans. Those are not the same thing. Was Destroy All Humans rated T?
I think like AO was a thing for a while, right? But like,
AO is still a
I don't
thing.
think that.
AO
I
is
think
still
they
a thing,
stopped.
but it's mostly porn and like
Yeah,
Okay.
porn and massacre.
Yeah, I think
like-
there's definitely like a gradient there that they should
or
tap
sadism,
into,
not
right?
masochism.
Like nothing, like it's not just blood and gore or porn, like there could be levels to how
Yeah, like
what
I
I'm
think
saying is like rated
GTA. I
M
think
could be divided into several levels.
yeah, I like Peggy more. Like Peggy has the 13 plus, the 16
Peggy
plus,
18.
and the 18. Yeah, so like
Right, yeah.
16 makes sense for Call of Duty, 18 makes sense for GTA to me. Like, and then obviously like I don't think it should be like set in stone law. Like parents can make decisions for their kids.
The thing about like adults only is that most games retailers, and that's not a problem
Yeah.
anymore, but back in the
wouldn't carry
Wild
'em, yeah.
Western days, they wouldn't carry adults only games. So there really was only provided for porn games.
Mm-hmm.
And if you wanted violence, you typically just butter up the ESRB enough that they give you an M.
Yeah. The whole ESRB rating system is extremely weird. Have you guys ever looked into it?
It's super weird.
Not too much.
The ESRB does not play your game. You send your game, you send them footage of what you consider the most egregious parts of your game, and make your case for what they should give you. And that's why you see instances of like the ESRB backtracking and all. And I don't think when I was a kid, I resented that. I thought like that's really stupid. Like the ESRB should be making these like if they're gonna call themselves this, but like they're not particularly well funded. I don't think the ESRB exists only to keep the government from legislating on games.
Yeah. It's literally there to
Which,
keep the moral guardians
Yeah,
away.
I don't know if they'll be able to keep them from doing that for long.
Really?
You see these stories all the time of like these politicians looking into games, like these games are
yeah,
violent,
but it's
and,
always like right-wing politicians looking for like
Looking for
to
something to
get people
blame.
mad. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it never nothing
It's
ever
all
comes of it.
fear-mongering.
They can maybe, I mean, I can see it happening like in a state, but I don't think it'll ever pass nationwide.
You know, I think like me growing up, my parents didn't care about the ESRB ratings. If I wanted a game, it's like, oh, okay, it doesn't look too bad. So
yeah, and I feel like at least most of my friends' parents were like that too, but mine were definitely, after I got, Halo and Call of Duty, the floodgates opened from there, right? Like after that, I played anything I wanted to.
it's just kind of like I think back during like the big scares, people didn't realize that if you're a normal functioning human, you could tell the difference between what's happening on the screen and the fact that it's not real.
Yeah, but children are not normal functioning.
Yeah, I
humans.
was gonna say like that's true for like I think teenagers.
Even when I was a
you know,
kid,
like-
I kind of just
Yeah,
But,
no,
like, you know,
I
like-
do not doubt that when you were a kid, you were like that. But I have known many kids in my life that I do not trust to know the difference. Like,
true.
Yeah, I know, like a kid who's like 5, 6, 7 years old. I don't know if I'm comfortable with them like watching me play Call of Duty or something like that. So I don't know.
It builds character. I mean,
It builds
I think it builds. I'm not a psychopath, I swear.
Yeah.
Blade and Sorcery is teaching me the opposite, though. I'm pretty sure I'm like messed up.
yeah, I actually think there's a strong case that VR is not a good idea for children.
VR is not.
No,
No,
there,
VR is,
there are disclaimers on like all VR games. Like I think you have to be at least 8, right? Is it
Yeah,
8?
even
It might be older than that. I forget.
yeah, but I think
there's
that's
definitely like a
because of
hard
the
age
stereoscopic
requirement.
3D. It's bad for kids' eyes.
It's bad for eyes, and you also have to get your VR legs.
It might be bad for their perception of reality too.
Yeah, that's what
Man, I lose my perception of reality in that too. It's
I
super
think
easy to just lose your perception of what's real and what's not.
it's really specific to a kid because, like,
No,
I mean,
I get it. Right?
Kids will do acts of violence because they don't understand the consequences at a lot of different ages, and I think giving the media that feeds that is definitely something that the parents have to make the call on because it's such a case by case thing.
Yeah, it's a lot of like you show them it and then you have to discuss like why that's not okay.
Which does make me think M for mature is a pretty good moniker because it's not setting a specific age. It's saying like, hey, is this person mature?
It's all up to
mentally
parent. It's all up to
developed
the
enough.
parent.
Yeah. Anyway, that was a massive tangent.
Yeah, I have no idea what we were originally talking about.
I
Well,
don't
that's
even
been this
remember.
whole episode. We've just
Yeah.
kind of
We've
bounced
just
around
rambling.
topics. And I think that's fine. But
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready to talk about the games we've been playing.
What have you been playing?
I've been playing 104.3 hours of Factorio.
Jesus Christ.
I don't remember the day I bought this game, but I can say for certain I'm playing an egregious amount of it. I think I mentioned starting the space exploration mod last week, I think, or whenever we
Yep.
last recorded. I just now actually got to space last night. There's a lot of build up, and that's when the mod actually starts. That's I think 60 hours it took us to get to space, something like that. Me and my buddy.
Jeez.
Yeah, because I think it was 40 hours for that first factory, so that would make it 60 hours to get to where we are now, getting into space. And I could do it faster on a second try, for sure. But this game, I see it a lot that like Factorio is the factory game. Like there is no other. It is an absolute masterclass in this genre, and I can't even imagine a game doing what Factorio does better than Factorio because it does it so perfectly. Like there is not, because of the mod support, there is nothing I would change about Factorio. Not a single thing. Like there are a couple of little features that I think could be added, but they're going to get modded in. Like like you can kind of choose your difficulty more or less using mods. Like me and my buddy Ty, we've been clashing a bit lately because we play the game differently, and I'm hosting a server for us. And when he sees a complicated problem, his like first thought seems to be to download a mod to make it a little less complicated. Whereas I think that like I hate it, but it's what's happening. And I say no every time because I hate it. My solution is always to find like, how can we solve this problem with the vanilla mechanics? And Factorio has so many like complexities that there typically is a way. Like we just set up a train yard, and all of our like satellite bases that are providing us with materials are self-repairing. But what we've been doing previously is loading the materials to repair onto every train that goes to visit them. But the problem is you lose a little bit of space on your train doing that. And also, like, it's a little finicky to get set up. So instead, we've set up a system where when the bases run low on a certain supply, they send out a signal that calls a train to come deliver supplies to them. And that's all vanilla. Like, yeah, we're playing a massive mod right now, but you can set up something that complex to have your self-repairing bases request resources on your train network to come fix them up and everything. Obviously we have to keep construction robots and everything there to actually do the repairs, but it's just incredible. And like, I'm super into the biters, and he likes to play without the biters.
What does that mean?
The biters are the enemies in the game. So whenever we need a new deposit, if you're playing without enemies on, you can just go tap into the new iron mine you need. Where we have biters turned on, typically we have to go clear out all the biter nests surrounding it, so that they're not constantly attacking us while we build it and then constantly attacking it while it operates.
Yeah, I can see how that gets annoying.
It is annoying, but
it's kind of like at the same time I was gonna say like it sounds kind of like the barbarians in Civilization. Like they're
it's a
supposed to be
challenge
annoying.
of the game. Like eventually biters, like at this point we've upgraded our lasers quite a bit, and Ty just said, screw it, and he built a blueprint. So we don't even have to build the bases anymore. We just stamp the blueprint down and stand there while our robots build it for us.
Yeah.
And he set a blueprint that has like just a like 4 thick wall, and then that wall has a layer of lasers behind it that is 2 deep, and like the bugs are just going to go up against that wall and then get cut down by the lasers. And so like we really don't even have to clear out the nests anymore except on site if we don't want to. It's just we'll lose a few fewer resources. And like we've unlocked atomic bombs that we can shoot at the nests, and those clear them out pretty quick in a pinch. They're expensive, but and that's the other thing about Factorio is that if you're playing it right, nothing is expensive forever. Eventually everything is cheap. Nearly unlimited. As long as you can keep your base fed. And it's just the way it scales is just very cool to me, very satisfying. We're trying to set up believe it or not, the vanilla Factorio experience is pretty cut and dry for transportation of resources. You're either using robots, you're using trains, or you're using belts. And the space exploration mod, obviously, it introduces rockets, and rockets can carry a lot of stuff. It introduces delivery cannons, which are literally just cannons that shoot your stuff as hard as they can at another planet. And if you don't have like somewhere for it to land, it'll get damaged and you'll lose some of it. If you have somewhere for it to land, it won't get damaged and you get all of it. And that's we're trying to do the numbers right now because it's not immediately clear which of those is cheaper to use. And it's super situational. Like if you're moving raw materials like water or something, you just shoot them because it doesn't matter. But like if you're wanting to move something complicated like science packs, maybe you should use a rocket. But you could also move the raw materials to make a science pack with the delivery cannon and then make it on site. There's so many decisions you have to make. And once you make the decision, you're not stuck with it. You can always undo it. The robots work fast and you can deconstruct anything. But you feel a little stuck with your decision after you put like hours into building it, you know? And it's just crazy. There's so much to this game. I feel like I could play it forever.
So okay, so where do you go now that you're in space?
So
Are
right
there
now there's something called rocket science packs that we're making. So I guess this is more I've been playing the space exploration mod than Factorio, but now that we're in space, the first thing we need to do is get rocket science packs getting produced, which are like science packs are like what you're trying to make. That's how you unlock new things that you can craft and stuff. And there's a whole can of worms. We're building a factory in orbit right now because you can only craft the space exploration science packs can only be crafted in space. So we have to find out how we're going to get all those materials into space and then get them there and then craft them into the science packs. And we also have to send all the science packs we're making on the ground up to space because they're no good to us there anymore. And our rocket production is pretty good. We make rockets really fast. But we're not shooting them like on a timer or anything yet. It's very complicated. Once we have that set up, my next plan is we've explored most of our solar system with satellites, and I want to quit setting up outposts on our homeworld. I would much rather like get all of our iron off of a planet that is like covered in it, and just set up an outpost there that just mines iron and then shoots it to our base where we need it.
sounds absolutely wild.
That's
you can
extremely
shoot resources
like,
across planets, you know?
Yeah, we just set this up just now because we don't really know what we need in space yet. So we set up a cannon that we just kind of have our robots put whatever we need in the cannon and shoot it up to us when we're in orbit. And you also have to set up life support systems in orbit. Like your air is not unlimited up there. You have to set up a life support system. And you could produce life support canisters in space, but it's not easy. And you need coal and water to create the air, I guess. I don't really understand how that works necessarily. But coal and water to produce oxygen to breathe. So you either make the life support canisters on the planet and shoot them up to you, or you shoot the raw materials up to make them in space. It's complicated. And like the pods that you have to shoot stuff in are kind of expensive. So like I think if you're making the pods, I think you're using enough iron that it's not really worth it to shoot iron in them. Like you're spending more iron on the pod than you actually get to shoot, which is annoying.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a huge amount of mass. Whereas you could, the rockets can hold a lot more than the pods can. The rockets can hold a ridiculous amount of stuff, but there's also like a small chance the rockets crash.
Just like,
there's just so much
rockets do.
And then there's just the fact that like even like the vanilla parts of the game are still breaking down. Like our homeworld, we're out of iron right now. We need to set up a new iron outpost, and that's kind of annoying. I really want to find like a massive. That's why I kind of want to set up a one on a different planet that has more of it. There are also planets that have no enemies. Those are pretty common, and those you don't have to put any defenses on your bases or anything.
There just sounds like so much going on at any given moment with this
It's
game.
an absurd,
crazy.
It's an absurd amount going on. But I genuinely, it's one of the best $30 I've ever spent because I'm at 100 hours now, and I do not foresee myself stopping playing this game anytime soon. And it like runs on anything. Like people on the runs on anything that is a PC, Mac or Linux. Because people are talking about lowest specs that you can run Factorio on because like people on the subreddit are so addicted to it they're buying a cheap laptop so they can play it when they go on vacation, you know?
Jeez, dude.
Yeah. And it'll run on a pretty cheap laptop. And you can run it on apparently this is how dedicated the people who play this game are. There are like people who build mega bases. For reference, my base is structured to do about 120 science per minute. And that is not including the loss of efficiency that you get. The assemblers in the game do not craft like the crafting time. They like have like a 0.75 modifier on that or something, and I didn't do that math. So I spec'd it out assuming that they were like one. The modifier was 1, and I tried to do 120 science per minute. And my factory is gigantic. I spent 60 hours on it. But there are people online who do something called a mega base, which is like 1,000 science per minute. I've seen 10,000 science per minute. Like these people are insane. And at that point, they're much like where I got to in Noita. They're pushing up against the limitations of the game and how many updates per second it can do, given all that going on. And there are people who have found like the game runs better on Linux under certain Linux configurations. And there are people like if you're building a mega base, you have to do this specific Linux distro and like install these certain
Jeez, dude.
packages if you want your
That's-
base to run decently.
That's a whole new kind of sweaty. That's what I'll say.
It's insane. There's like using belts is ill-advised. You should not use belts if you're doing a mega factory because belts are slightly laggier than logistics robots are. So you should just do all of your transfers that you can on logistics bots and trains. It's just insane, and I cannot get enough of it. I don't see myself ever. Well, it's too soon to say that. I could maybe see myself building. If I turn biters off, I could see myself doing a mega base and getting up to 1,000 science per minute someday. But I don't know. It ain't easy. Because the farther away you go from spawn, it seems the more ore is in each patch. So eventually you have to like grab new ore patches less and less, and that's getting a little tedious at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could go on for hours about Factorio, so I'll cut off now. But
I guess we'll.
If you like Tekkit or you like Satisfactory, you have to play Factorio because it blows both out of the water.
I was gonna say, I guess we'll hear about any updates next week.
Yeah, probably because I can't remember. Yeah, I just don't see myself. I've played Apex Legends as well, but Factorio is, I haven't played any new games like I typically do. I don't have anything new to talk about.
How about you, Mike?
So I have a couple games to talk about. First, I'm going to talk about a factory game that really left me wanting. Like Hydroneer. It's just not for me. The whole it's a factory game where you can only hold one item at a time.
Do you like build underwater or something?
No.
Okay.
You mine.
I'm just trying to assume based off the name.
You mine. Make a factory that mines for you. That's the game. That's it. I saw it get a lot of praise because it's simple. You take shovel, you shovel dirt, you grab bucket of water, pour in thing, and get gem, carry bucket full of gem back. But it's so grindy because you can only carry one thing at a time.
Just listening to you describe this makes me think it sounds like Factorio for cavemen.
Yeah, it really is just Factorio for cavemen. It doesn't offer any of the depth or any of the mechanics behind it. It's just dig hole, clean off dirt.
That's how I felt with Forager. It felt like trying to get those big numbers without really earning them.
It's just so slow. To go buy stuff, you manually have to carry the money to the store in your only hand. You buy something, you have to manually unload it from the truck with one hand. It's just so tedious. Everything in that game is tedious. Building a conveyor system, one by one.
Is there any chance that like later in the game, once you finally automated some stuff, it gets better? Or
Nope. I literally, just to get like the full experience, I downloaded a mod that gave me infinite money.
Oh God.
And it still didn't make it any better.
That's a shame. I was really hoping you were going to say Dyson Sphere program. I really want to hear somebody talk about that eventually.
Yeah, I've been hearing about that. I've been hearing about that game too.
I've actually been playing it.
Oh really? Are you going to talk about it?
Not yet.
Okay, I was going to say.
I could talk about it in a bit, but the second.
Well, wait until you have your thoughts together, because I want to seriously hear about it. Because the only things I've heard is that it has potential, where it's an early access game.
It feels better than Factorio for me.
Wow.
Right now, like it does all the things that mod you're describing natively.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was hoping for. It looked simpler than Factorio on a like ground level, but then more complicated in a space like interstellar way.
Getting out of off a planet, you can do in maybe an hour.
Wow. Yeah. I mean that makes sense because it's more about space than Factorio is.
Yeah, it doesn't take long to get all the your resources set up.
Yeah. I'll
But
definitely be trying Dyson Sphere Program eventually, but I'm tempted to wait until it leaves early access.
the other game I was going to talk about was Blade and Sorcery, which is a VR game.
Yeah, you mentioned it last week. Any updates from that?
How much did I talk about it? I don't even remember.
Well,
week.
it's been a couple weeks since we recorded, but yeah, you just mentioned it like it was super visceral and like the effects were like really good. Like it really
Yeah,
felt like you were stabbing through something when you swung your sword.
it makes me feel like a psychopath. That's like I don't know why I get this weird joy from like sword fighting, but I do.
I mean, like I feel like every little kid,
I'm
fantasizes about sword fighting, right?
like
I
a
think that's
kid
like
in a candy store. I love
yeah.
it. Plus the mod abilities there. You ever bring a Glock to a gunfight?
But that's the
Or a
sword
Glock
part.
to a sword
What's
fight?
the sorcery part?
You have 3 spells. One of which is like this force power that I can use to like lift people up in the air, or like grab their leg and rip it, or like flip them.
So it's basically a Star Wars simulator because you can like have your sword be
You
a
also have your
lightsaber,
lightning.
right?
Yeah, you have the lightning and fireballs. Fireballs are a little
Okay.
weird though, but it works really well. When I get my controller in, I'm gonna try the 2-handed weapons because those look like a lot of fun. Shame I
Yeah.
couldn't use them, but honestly, I just like playing it. It's fun to just mess around and move around in the world.
Is it like mostly PvP?
It's all PvE. I don't think
Okay.
there's any
I was wondering
multiplayer in
like
it.
it'd be pretty sick if like they implemented like a VR PvP type thing.
But
VR
the AI
PvP is tough with melee weapons because the
Yeah.
tracking, because
It
the
could get
tracking,
janky very quick.
and
Yeah.
also like 2 people swinging swords at each other in VR. Like, how do you resolve that? You know?
Yeah, one day. We're not quite there yet.
Like,
Once we
the
have
AI
full.
is challenging enough in Blade and Sorcery that it's like it's not a problem. Like if you don't know what you're doing, you're gonna get hurt a good bit. But just the weightiness of the swords is good. Like if you don't have a proper grip on a weapon, it's gonna flop around like a wet noodle in your hands. Not like a literal wet noodle, but it's gonna feel like it's a wet noodle.
And I'm sure it'll feel even better once you have your
Once I have 2
controller.
hands,
Yeah.
oh, I can't wait. That claymore is gonna be swinging.
Yeah.
I just like things that have weight. Like I feel like
No,
early
I get it.
VR,
Like that's like super important for immersion. So
early VR suffered from everything being like noodles
Yeah.
yeah.
and being kind of low tech. Like I've been looking at a lot of VR games I missed out on, and I don't even want to try them because they're early gen VR games.
Yeah, I really want to play Job Simulator still, but it's
Yeah,
rough.
It was on sale for a little bit.
It's
I
still
played-
on sale. It's in a humble bundle right now. I'm pretty sure.
I
And
think
I'm
the
on.
Humble Bundle ended.
Oh, well, I was on the edge of buying it, and I
I've
bought it.
I've played Job Simulator and I think I've done everything in Job Simulator and it's fun, but like it's
Yeah,
like a
It's not
bite-sized
Half-Life
thing,
Alex, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
I bought it for the stealth game, honestly, and the ninja parkour one. I'm gonna get motion sick soon.
Yeah.
Oh
I
yeah.
can't wait. I like moving.
Oh, if you have Game Pass, Mike, you should try out Star Wars Squadrons.
Oh, God, I gotta get Game Pass.
Or just get Star Wars Squadrons. But its VR implementation is
You
quite
can
good.
do like I think if you first sign up, you can sign up for like $1 and for of gold and like convert it to Game Pass or something.
That's something
That's the
like
thing,
that.
right?
But yeah, once I get my controller, I think I'm gonna go through a VR bender and just try all the VR games I missed out on. Maybe play more VR Phasmophobia because that's actually kind of fun. Once you get past the initial VR legs, it's not bad.
Yeah.
It's just that I was having trouble and I hadn't gotten my VR legs. Now that I have them and I'm used to moving in VR, it's not throwing off my balance as much.
Yeah, you really once you play VR a lot, it kind of goes away. But I've never been in a position where I play VR a lot, so Phasmophobia.
Yeah, I feel like
Especially now that I've set it up
every
for
time
Bluescale.
I play VR, I have to like regain my VR legs. I feel like.
Yeah, my
Bluescale
VR
also
setup
helps.
kind of sucks because I don't have enough HDMI ports on my graphics card to have my TV and my VR headset hooked up at the same time, and I use the TV more. So I always have to like get behind my PC and plug in my headset when I want to use it, and that like tiny bit of friction is enough to stop me most of the time.
Yeah.
I think that's the bonus behind the Quest 2. It uses USB 3.0 as its link cable, so I don't have to have a free
Yeah, like
HDMI port.
yeah, we mentioned like Facebook is really solving like the convenience problem, right? Like, and I think that problem will get solved even better as VR progresses. And I think,
I
like the initial like I'm right with you, Connor. Like I've been there where like I want to play VR, but I don't want to go through the hassle of setting it up. And that
Yeah.
problem's gonna go away, I think, very quickly.
I
I
can't
mean,
wait till they add a wireless support that I don't have to buy virtual desktop for.
yeah,
That'll be
I'm
super
looking at a
nice.
headset that, and to be clear, I'm for any VR enthusiasts in the crowd, I am well aware that this headset may or may not exist, but there's one called the Deca Gear One that has been announced, and it's $450, has higher resolution than the Index, 90 hertz, has the knuckle controllers from the Index, and has a wireless mode.
Like
Uh,
really
Nice.
like I think I was skeptical in VR, but I feel like VR is gonna be the future of gaming.
Dude, that's what I'm telling you. Like everyone who tries VR, I feel like is a believer.
Yeah,
Like you have to try it.
it's
I'm a believer in VR, but I hate when people call it the future of gaming. I don't think that's true at all.
it's
Yeah, okay, yeah,
so
I
cool.
agree
I
with
think
that.
I think it's part of the future of
It's
gaming.
going to be an integral piece of the future of gaming, I
Yeah,
think.
Yeah.
I will agree to that for sure, but I don't think flat screen games are going away.
No, and
Now,
I don't
okay,
want them to go away, dude. Like are you kidding me? Like if gaming was only VR in the future, like that's cool, but like
well,
I would
there is
miss
a world
the
in which
traditional
like
experiences, you know?
VR headsets, VR is the future for my personal workspace, probably. Like the moment I get a VR headset that can simulate a 1080p screen, suddenly I don't need my dual monitors anymore because
Yeah.
I can have I can put on my VR headset and I have as many monitors as I want. I can
Yeah.
have I can have a million windows open when I am stuck on a programming problem on Stack Overflow. And I think Oculus Quest is actually really taking advantage of that market right now. They even have keyboards that the Quest can track now for productivity,
Very cool.
Yeah, I think
and that's huge. That means the world to me.
because the thing about VR is VR offers an entirely different experience and a lot of more interactivity than standard flat screen gaming. Like you can
Yeah.
only do so much with a say a Wiimote, but you
Yeah,
stick someone
it
in
fulfills the
VR
promise of motion controls for
and
sure.
oh, like man, the Wii walked so VR could run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Very
hate
well
to
put,
say
yeah.
it, but that's what happened. Like Nintendo blazed that trail, and then companies just jumped on it.
Makes you think what big next innovation Nintendo is going to blaze the trail for, because they seem to have a tendency to do that.
I don't think the Switch is gonna be that big innovation.
No, I don't think anyone's going to try to emulate the Switch, but like I know Nintendo's going to keep innovating. They're going to find
Yeah.
something.
Like the Switch is cool, but it's not a game changer, really. I honestly I haven't touched my Switch in a while. I don't go enough places to carry my Switch with me,
Yeah.
which is probably the only place I'd be playing my Switch.
All right. So, you good, Mike?
Yeah.
All right. So I'll round us off on a bit of a downer this week, I guess. I've been playing Days Gone,
Mm.
and
Uh,
like so this was one of the few Sony, or rather the PS4 exclusives I had never played, and I've given it a shot. And I do hear that it gets better, but like, how much time am I willing to invest until I get to that point, right? Like, so where I am currently, I've put a couple hours into the game, and I'm not really liking it at all. Like, it's very it's I think grating is the right word. Like, there are a lot of solid ideas there, like the way the game uses sound. Like, sound is a huge mechanics, because like it's a zombie-based survival story-driven game, and like your motorbike is a big mechanic too, which is cool in principle. Like, there's a lot of unique mechanics with it. Like, you can shut off your engine while you're moving downhill to conserve fuel, as well as like be quieter and like not be noticed by zombies and stuff like that. But everything just adds up and is less than the sum of its parts. Like, the characters themselves are extremely grating to me. Like, they're just flat out annoying. And like, it don't want to sound mean saying that, but like, I feel like the voice actors for this game either were not given good direction, or like the direction for the game is just something I find pretty grating. Like the main character Deacon, like he reacts to things in like really odd, aggressive ways that I don't appreciate, and it's just sort of annoying to sit through. Like there's been quite a few cutscenes at this point, and it's just like I could not care less about these characters, and like I feel like they were sort of going for it, like kind of like the Last of Us did, right? Like ruin world, focus on the characters, but obviously, Naughty Dog did it infinitely better than Ben did with Days Gone. I will say though, like the the game is extremely pretty. Like that's like what it has going for it. Like graphically, it's beautiful, and on PS5 it runs at 60, whereas on PS4 was 30 only. So I'm playing it at 60 4K with HDR, and it looks really nice, which keeps enticing me to give it more and more of a chance. But like my patience is starting to run thin, uh, just because like it really hasn't hooked me yet. And I do hear online like you have to wait till this point before the game starts getting good, but like there's only so much of my time that I'm willing to invest, so I'm not really sure if I'm gonna go to that point or not.
That kind of sounds like trying to get someone into JoJo's. You just gotta wait.
Yeah.
You just gotta get past the first 8 episodes.
No, like just a small tangent there, but like I've definitely had experience trying to get friends into JoJo, and like they're so mad at me after watching part one. It's like, why did you introduce me to this garbage? But then like once they get to part two, they're fine.
Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
people who think part 3 are better than part 1 are just so wrong. I can't even stand to talk to them.
Dude,
Like,
what is wrong with you?
Part 3 is
that's
some
a
of the worst
horrible
anime
opinion.
I've ever seen. I hate
I-
JoJo's part 3.
I mean, it's slow for the first half.
Yeah, it's slow for the first half, but like
for the
compared
first
to part
9
one-
tenths, it's extremely slow. The
Yeah,
Geo
you gotta
fight
get
is
to
fun.
Egypt.
Like,
Okay, so I will say in my personal JoJo rankings, part 3 is near the bottom, but is infinitely better than part 1 in my
no,
opinion.
part 1 and I haven't seen past part 3, but part 1 and part 2 were both extremely enjoyable. I could not sit through part 3 and
Part
gave
4
up.
is a good one though.
Part
I've
4
heard
is
good
top
things.
tier. Part
Yeah,
4 is
Part 5
near
is
the
good
top
too.
for me.
And this has been anime reviews.
Yeah.
This is our JoJo.
This is our JoJo reference. For
But
the
yeah,
episode.
that just like everything I've seen about Days Gone, I look at it and I'm just like, oh, that looks really boring.
I
And
do.
Yeah, like
Only
it's
thing I like about Days Gone is the zombie hordes.
yeah, I was gonna
'cause
say like I haven't gotten
I
to a
like
horde yet,
liquids.
but that mechanic seems really, really cool. But like I
Like-
haven't been introduced to it yet.
I just like the idea of a crowd being simulated as a liquid rather than, a solid. 'Cause that's what crowds do. They just kind of turn into a liquid once you get enough of them.
Yeah, it's like their own entity. But
Yeah.
like the thing with Days Gone that gets me though, it's like I can see bits and pieces of a good game in it, at least where I am right now. But like just the way it all comes together, it just doesn't come together, in my opinion.
yeah, I mean, I
And-
looked at it and nothing looked wrong with it, but it just was like,
Yeah.
Sony already had their zombie game. It's The Last of Us. Why does Days Gone exist?
So this is kind of like, like the zombie game is obviously like the flavor of the game, but it's more like Far Cry from what I can tell in terms of like it's an open world and like there's things to do in it. And there's like a pretty like long story from what I can tell, just looking at how long it takes to beat the campaign and stuff like that. But even with the story, like at least where I am now, and I hear that there are plot twists and stuff, and the story gets more interesting. But right now, I could not care less about the story. Like I'm sorry. Like they had an intro that was very kind of similar to The Last of Us's intro, where the main character loses someone he cares about a lot, and like that trauma really hard.
So like the
and
most
stuff like that.
the absolute most basic zombie world trope you
Yeah.
can have.
Yeah, but like The Last of Us handled it so well, whereas in this game, I just couldn't care less. Like I don't know.
Yeah, The Last of Us, the original Last of Us, you totally didn't see that coming.
I mean, like
I mean,
Up until
saw
it happened.
I
I
saw it
I saw it
coming.
coming. I
but
saw it
like
coming from
it
the
was
moment I turned on the
executed
game.
extremely well, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah, I think they did a good job with it, but it's still like the oldest trick in the book for a zombie media. Like,
But like,
I don't
yeah,
know.
I don't know. Like, maybe it's just that like I'm not a big fan of like the biker gang aesthetic, I guess, and
nah, me
that's what
neither.
this
Yeah.
the game is all about, really. Like,
I think
there's a
the
huge-
biker theme
and-
aesthetic is like the only thing more boring than a zombie game.
yeah, like, and like I respect the passion that went into it. Like, obviously, like whoever designed this aspect of the game really cares about motorcycles because you can like trick out like every single aspect of your motorcycle and customize it to bits. But that's
really
just
funny.
something I really don't care about, So
Yeah,
It's just,
the only thing, what's that like infamously? It's like Ride to Hell Retribution or
Yeah,
something.
Ride to Hell Retribution.
If I see a motorcycle in a game, that's the only thing I can think of. Like that Ride to Hell Retribution was so bad it has tainted motorcycles in games forever for me.
Jesus.
Like,
but yeah, I mean, I think I'm gonna give it a couple more shots. Like I'm gonna keep playing it for a little bit, but like right now, it's not an enjoyable game. Like, and it's tough because like I definitely see like I feel like this game was in severe need of like an editor, right? Like if someone at the top was calling some shots, like a director or something, that maybe parts of this game came together in a different way, it could have been a very good game. I think there's definitely potential in it, but from what I'm seeing right now, it's just a
yeah, I mean,
slog.
execution is everything.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I've been playing. Not impressed by Days Gone, but I know, like it definitely has its following. But after playing it, I can definitely see why Sony was not too keen on a sequel. So
Yeah, that's why I was so confused why there was any outrage over that. Like Days Gone
dude,
was
there's
such
there's a dedicated fan base for it.
I mean,
which is
I gotta
fine,
wonder
but
how big the overlap between bikers and gamers is, like because of that. Because
yeah, maybe. I don't
I
know.
think that's the only interesting thing Days Gone had was the.
Dude, I saw like change.org petition got started for Sony to
I mean,
create Days Gone
anybody
2.
can make a
Yeah,
change.org
I know, and
petition.
right,
Yep.
but what I'm gonna say is that it reached like 30,000 signatures, and I was
Oh
like,
my god,
well,
that's
well,
actually
that's pretty good, right? But like,
yeah.
30,000 sales is nothing for a AAA video game, right?
No,
yeah.
but 30,000 people that played the game and liked it enough to like sign a
Yeah,
petition.
that's what I'm saying, man. Like there is a dedicated following for this game. It's just
yeah,
I don't think it's enough for Sony to care, unfortunately.
No, not for their budget. 30,000 sales for an indie game is incredible, but
And especially for Days Gone, right? Days Gone is a AAA first party game that they poured years of marketing resources into. And the game itself took like I think 7+ years for Bend to make, right? Like they made Uncharted Golden Abyss for Vita, and this is what they were working on for the longest time. And I remember Days Gone was shown at E3 after E3 after show with like and like all this marketing hype behind it, but like it didn't really pan out, right? Like so Sony from their perspective definitely invested a lot into this game and it didn't perform to the level they wanted it to.
that studio had potential because I'll be the first to say it. Uncharted Golden Abyss, pretty good.
Yeah,
good game.
It's a pretty solid game.
Uncharted is it Uncharted? Is it better than Uncharted 1? Probably. Is it better than Uncharted 2, 3, and 4?
No.
No, but a better than Uncharted 1's not bad for like a portable Uncharted game.
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
It met and slightly exceeded expectations. And I honestly, if I was replaying the Uncharted series, it makes the cut. It would get replayed.
Yeah. So yeah, Ben Studio, I wish them the best of luck on their next project. Like there was some turmoil after, like the news came out about like them helping Naughty Dog and stuff. So now they're working on their own project, which is a new thing, right? So it's presumably not going to be a Days Gone sequel because Sony axed that. But like Days Gone is getting another shot at making something, and I hope it's something that lives up to their potential because I think they do have a lot of potential at Ben Studio.
Yeah, they do. They have a ton of because now I'm just thinking about how good Uncharted Golden Abyss was, and like that was one of the first games I played that had gyro controls. I think for aiming,
right? Yeah,
because the sticks on the Vita are not stellar, but those gyro controls, like I was good. I was popping headshots like it was nobody's business. I was probably better at Golden Abyss than I was at any of the other Uncharted games. The game was fun. It just makes me think of how Sony went so all in on the Vita early on, and then just
man, they had an exclusive Uncharted game, a Killzone game, and like lots of like Japanese games as well, and just didn't work out, unfortunately. But yep, that's it for me. Any other comments before we round out the show?
No, not really.
Okay, all right. So that's gonna do it for us this week. Thank you guys for listening. You can follow us at Podcast Game Talk on Twitter. You can like, rate, and review us on any podcast service you use, and click the link on the description of this podcast to join our Discord and talk to us there. Thank you, Connor and Mike.
Yeah, guys. See you next week.
See you next week.
Guys, next week.